I was too shy to say sorry, and now I say it to a stone. If there's someone you still haven't apologized to, do it today, not tomorrow. Not when things feel right, not when your ego softens just enough to let the words out. Do it before Tuesday comes. Because sometimes Tuesday comes anyway. I was 54 years old when I stopped speaking to my sister. Even now I struggle to explain why, not because it was complicated, but because it was so small that admitting it out loud feels like confessing something shameful. It started over a conversation at her kitchen table. Something about money, something about responsibility, something about who had done more for our parents. Voices got louder, words got sharper. And then something shifted. You know that moment when the conversation stops being about the topic and becomes about winning? That's the moment everything changes. I said things I shouldn't have said. She said things that hurt. And instead of stopping, instead of stepping back, I leaned into it. Because I needed to be right. Because in that moment being right felt more important than being her brother. We didn't speak the next day. Or the next week. At first it felt temporary, like one of those arguments families have where time quietly fixes everything. I told myself she'll call. And I'm sure she told herself the same thing. But days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and something strange started to happen. The longer we stayed silent, the harder it became to break it, because now it wasn't just an argument anymore. Now it was pride. I remember the first birthday I didn't call her. I picked up my phone 3 times that day. 3 times. I even typed her name. But each time I stopped. Because a voice in my head said, if you call first, you're admitting you were wrong. And I wasn't ready to admit that. So I put the phone down. And told myself I'd call next year. Next year came. And I didn't call again. 7 birthdays passed like that. 7 chances to fix something I chose not to fix. 7 opportunities wasted. Christmas was worse. Because Christmas has a way of reminding you what's missing. I would sit at the table surrounded by people, laughter, noise, and still feel it. That empty space where she should have been. Her voice. Her jokes. The way she used to argue over who made the better dessert, and every year I told myself the same thing. It's too late now, but it wasn't too late. That's the lie pride tells you. It whispers, not now, not yet. Wait and you listen, until one day waiting turns into something you can't undo. The last message she ever sent me came on a quiet evening. No special occasion, no holiday, just an ordinary day. I remember exactly where I was, sitting in my living room. The television on, but I wasn't really watching. My phone buzzed, and when I looked down, I saw her name. For a moment, everything inside me paused. 7 years of silence, broken by one message. I opened it slowly, and there it was. 3 words. I miss you, that was it. No anger, no blame, no mention of the past. Just, I miss you. I stared at those words for a long time. Longer than I cared to admit. Because in those 3 words she had already done what I couldn't do for 7 years. She reached out. She made it easy. She gave me a way back. All I had to do was reply. And I didn't. I wish I could tell you there was a reason. Something logical. Something that makes sense. But the truth is there wasn't. Just pride. Quiet. Stubborn. Heavy pride. I told myself I'd respond later, after I found the right words. After I figured out how to say sorry without feeling small. After I felt ready. But later never came. She died on a Tuesday. No warning. No time to prepare. No second chance waiting quietly in the background. Just a phone call that split my life into 2 parts. before that Tuesday and everything after it. I remember the silence after I heard the words, the way the room suddenly felt too still, too empty, like the world had paused but only for me, because somewhere inside me I already knew what that meant. It meant that message, "I miss you," was the last thing she would ever say to me, and I never answered. There's a kind of regret that comes from mistakes, and then there's another kind, the kind that comes from silence, from the things you didn't say, the things you kept inside, the words that sat on the edge of your tongue and never made it out. That kind of regret doesn't fade, it settles into you, becomes part of who you are. The funeral felt unreal. People were talking, crying, sharing memories, and all I could think about was those 3 words on my phone. I miss you. I stood there surrounded by people who had known her, loved her, and I felt like an outsider in my own grief. Because my grief came with something else, something heavier, something harder to carry. Guilt, not loud guilt, not dramatic guilt, just a quiet, constant weight that doesn't leave. I kept thinking, why didn't I just reply? Why didn't I put my pride aside for one moment and choose her instead? But that's the cruel thing about time. It doesn't give you answers. It only gives you consequences. Every Sunday I drive to the cemetery. Same road, same turn, same quiet place. I park the car and sit there for a moment before getting out. Because no matter how many times I've done it, it never gets easier. Her grave is simple. A name, a date, a space between 2 years that holds an entire life. I sit beside it and I talk. Not out loud at first, just in my head, like I used to rehearse what I would say if I ever called her again, and then, eventually, I say it. The word that sat inside me for 7 years. I'm sorry. I say it again. And again, and again, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring her back. It doesn't undo the silence. It doesn't erase the years I chose pride over love. It just echoes in a place where she can't answer. And that's when I understood something I wish I had learned sooner, something I will carry for the rest of my life. Pride doesn't protect you. It doesn't keep you strong. It doesn't make you right. It just keeps you alone. If there's someone in your life right now, someone you haven't spoken to, someone you've been waiting on, someone you think should come to you first, ask yourself this: what matters more, being right or having them in your life? Because one day you won't have the choice anymore. If this story brought someone to your mind, don't ignore it. That feeling isn't random. Call them, message them, say the words now while you still can. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you feel something real, leave a like, not for me, but for every apology that's still waiting to be said. And if you believe in stories like this, the kind that remind us what truly matters, subscribe to this channel. Because some lessons come too late, but maybe this one doesn't have to. Before you go, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if it's just to yourself. Who came to your mind while you were listening to this, and what's stopping you from reaching out to them today?